Well, howdy YouTube family. It is Bolt CRNA coming to you again with another day's topic. Today we're going to be talking about my time in nursing school. I asked you guys on Instagram what you wanted to know about my nursing school experience. You asked me a bunch of questions. So today we're going to get into my nursing school experience. To start us off, quite a few of you guys just said nursing school with a bunch of exclamation marks. So I guess you just want to know, like, in a general sense of what's going on in my nursing school program. So I went to Jacksonville State University. That was in Jacksonville, Alabama. That was a bachelor's program. So I actually did 2 years of prerequisites, 2.5 years of prerequisites before I started that program. And they were, your science courses and all that other stuff. And they used your grades, your GPA from all those courses. They lined them all up. You had to have them completed before you could apply to the program. So everyone had all these classes done. They'd line up your GPA. Whoever was the top 50 GPAs, they got in. And that was as simple as their selection process went. I bet you had, or did you have all A's in your undergrad? And for my prerequisites, like the 2 years of sciences and all the stuff to get you into nursing school, I did have a very high GPA. I had all A's in my sciences, and I had like a handful of B's in psychology or sociology and a couple things, art history, things that were not as important to me. So I had a couple B's in those, but in all my sciences I had an A. Now, did I maintain that kind of average in nursing school? No. As many of you know, nursing school is tough, and so I definitely made 1 or 2 C's in nursing school, and but mostly A's and B's in nursing school. I was a pretty good student in nursing school. You also asked what was a difficult subject to learn in school and how did I study for that in nursing school. Nursing school for me, I'd probably say the hardest semester was 3rd semester for me, and that was probably because I was midway through the program. I was burning out. We were doing psych nursing, which was very boring to me, and information that I didn't find interesting. We were doing, what else? OBGYN nursing, which is very different than anything I have a background in, and I didn't even know what like a 28-day cycle was at that point. Still not 100% sure I know. And those things kind of just come in assuming you have a baseline of this type of women health knowledge, I guess, because most nursing students are female, and they just kind of jump off and just move quickly on these topics. I didn't understand any of that, and so there was a steep learning curve with it, and I just didn't feel that interested in the information, honestly. I mean, I knew that was an area I was not going to work in. I wasn't going to be working in labor and delivery. I wasn't trying to invest a ton of my energy and time into understanding women's health as much as like someone else who's going to be working in these OBGYN type settings. So anyway, yeah, that was a struggle for me, and I think I was burning out and getting depressed and just struggling. And I actually ended up having to go on an antidepressant, like a mild SSRI that semester, just because I was losing interest in stuff around me and really even what I was doing. And so yeah, it was just, I would say that was probably my worst semester. Next question is, did you work during nursing school? Yes, I did, which also relates back to why I was starting to become overwhelmed and depressed and all that in 3rd semester. I did work almost full-time hours all the way through nursing school, and that is very stressful for a lot of you guys who have tried that. I worked in a clinic. I was a medical assistant in a clinic, so I really enjoyed my work, but pretty much anytime lecture would end, say lecture was supposed to be till 3 o'clock or something, I would then go to the hospital. It was actually a clinic attached to our local hospital, and I would work there until the clinic closed. I was always the closer, which meant I always had to stay late. If the nurse practitioners or the physicians were seeing patients and they just ran long, which happened to happen quite a few times. There was a handful of them that were known to be talkers, and those patients really needed that talking and that one-on-one, and it seemed to always be the last patient of the day too. I don't know what that was about, but it would be like 6:30, and I'd be like looking at my clock and I'd be thinking, I need to go home. I need to write out my note cards for my clinical in the morning, and write out all my drugs and stuff, and I have to eat, and I have to take care of other stuff, and I'm tied up here. So yeah, was busy all the time. And if lecture would finish early, before 3 o'clock, they would just ask me to come in early. So I was there almost all the time, Monday through Friday. And then I would even take night call with the beepers, because I was a drug alcohol testing. I was a DOT certified drug alcohol tester. So what that means is I would do pre-employment physicals, and I would drug test people, and I would do breath alcohol testing. I made extra money doing that on the side. And the hospital, especially the ER, would need me to take call at night so that somebody who was DOT certified could breath alcohol test anybody who was a transfer truck driver or anybody like that who had any accident or any problem at all. I would have to come in and breath alcohol test them, and you have to respond immediately within like 30 minutes of them arriving, so that you can make sure that they weren't intoxicated while they were driving, because it would affect their license and legal matters. So anyway, it's just a lot of pressure, and I was a 21-year-old guy doing all this, plus working during the day, plus doing all these classes, plus trying to study, and I took weekend call because I was the young guy in the clinic. They pretty much pushed off weekend call on me too. So usually from Friday night to Monday morning, I would take the beepers, which meant even my weekends were tied up a lot of the times. I wasn't allowed to just go have fun and be free. I had to be within 30 minutes of the hospital at all times. And I couldn't go drinking, I couldn't go partying, I had to have scrubs ready to go. And that was pretty much my life. And I did that to scrape by and make money. And I think I made $2 an hour every hour I was on call. And I did that anyway because I was just that 21-year-old who was going to make money and who was going to pay my own bills and survive on my own and make my way through everything. And I always have been that kind of person, and I've always been fairly financially, in a good place because I know how to work hard when I need to. But the flip side to that is, yes, you will burn out at some point. You will have trouble, and that was third semester for me. Did I have any disagreements with faculty when I was in nursing school? No, not any specific disagreements. I did have one instance come up where I almost got dismissed from the program in second semester. Somebody, a nurse at the hospital, said they saw me at the hospital printing out patients' safety or patients' data from the chart to take home to fill out care plans and stuff, which is against the rules. We were not allowed to print the chart data because that's a HIPAA violation and take it home. We couldn't do that. But she claimed that she saw me doing that. And they looked on cameras and they saw this guy that looked like me from behind, from a distance where the camera was at, in the similar color of scrubs as what we wore. We wore like almost this color of scrubs in nursing school. And they were obviously at the printing machine printing off something off the chart. So one of the professors came to me and said, "Hey, I'm going to give you the heads up. Like you're probably going to get called into a big boardroom meeting by the dean of the program, and you're probably going to get let go. Like unless you can figure out a way to prove that was not you real quick." And thank God thank God I worked all the time, because I was on the clock at that time at my workplace the day and the time they were claiming that was me on camera. And so I was able to correlate that with the camera footage. My employer was able to verify it. They said, "Oh, okay, never mind then," and moved on. Of course, no apology or anything like that about stressing me out about my future career or anything. And it turned out what it was a paramedic student, or a paramedic actually, who wears a similar scrub color as this, who is supposed to get a face sheet copy to charge the billing of the ambulance ride or whatever, and he was just doing his job, and he's my height and he has my color hair. So they pretty much almost tried to throw me out of the program over nothing at all that I had done. So that was the only disagreement I'd say I'd had with faculty. How difficult was it jumping into the ICU as a new grad? I mean, it's hard, but I would say it's better than trying to go into a medical floor somewhere as a new grad, learning there, and then trying to transition to an ICU and breaking all the things that you learned as a med-surg nurse and trying to relearn new techniques and new thought processes as an ICU nurse. Because it's really like completely different, the way you approach your cases, the patients, what you're expected to do, your autonomy levels, the way you're supposed to think, everything's different. So it just really makes more sense to go into the ICU as a new grad and learn fresh from the start the correct way. And it is hard, but it's worth it. Any skills I learned outside of nursing that helped me succeed in nursing school and as a nurse? I would say outside of nursing, things that help me be a better nurse or be a better healthcare provider is interpersonal skills. So those are things like learning how to talk to people, learning how to connect with people, learning how to be trustworthy, being ethical, having morals and standards. These types of things I think will take you very far in any career you're in, but especially in healthcare and medicine. And I think if you start strengthening those before you get into nursing school, before you become a nurse or a CRNA or whatever, I think that's going to take you a long way. How can nurses awaiting ICU experience prepare or get a leg up for CRNA school? So this is obviously someone who is a nurse, they're working, but they're not in the ICU yet, they're not getting their ICU experience. What can they do? They can start looking at other things that are required beyond the ICU experience. So the GRE, you can go study for that GRE right now if you're working a step-down unit or telemetry floor or oncology or something and you're not in the ICU yet. Go get the GRE finished. I would focus on trying to get some shadowing experience done with anesthesia. So go shadow a CRNA or a physician anesthesiologist and get that shadowing in there. That way you know that you've got that done and you like that career. Maybe you shadow them and realize you don't like it. So definitely go do that first. Did any nursing school professors get off on failing students? I wouldn't say they got off on it, but there were certainly professors. And now in retrospect, now that I'm at the place where I could be a professor if I wanted to, and I try and teach students and mentor people, I understand there is a certain element of meeting people and realizing this person is a kind of a stereotype you have in your head of people you've seen in the past who won't make it, who don't have the right attitude, who don't have the right drive and ambition, who aren't putting in the work and effort that you're needing to succeed. So I think there are certain teachers who just kind of get cold and get very quick to dismiss people and write you off as someone who's not going to survive. And maybe they're right, but it doesn't give them the authorization to just kind of turn on you and really kind of just push you out the door. And so there definitely are professors in CRNA and nursing school who will kind of figure out which students are the weak links and which ones are going to waste their time, and they'll just try and trim the fat early. So be careful of that. Is grading in nursing school like it will be in CRNA school? I mean, in the sense of like A, B, C, D, F. We actually didn't have D's in nursing school or CRNA school. We had A, B, C. Anything less than a C, I think less than a 75 was an F in nursing school. And so you had to make a 75 to 80 was a C, which was a bad grade. Like that was a warning for you if you made that grade. But they really wanted you to make A's and B's. But in that sense, same for CRNA school, A and B, except after 80 is an F. So there is no C. You're not allowed to have a C in any anesthesia-related course. So 80 or higher to maintain yourself in the program. And another big difference is in nursing school, you would get dismissed if you ended up making an F in a course, but they would give you the opportunity to come back next year and retake that course and start in the program again. And so there's kind of like a second chance possibly. In CRNA school, they were very clear that like you make anything less than a B, you're out of the program and you're not ever going to get back in. Being a male nurse, how did I deal with drama in nursing school? So yeah, it's probably 80% of the class were females and maybe 20% of us were males. There wasn't a lot of drama. There was a couple girls that didn't get along too well, but I'd say that my nursing school class was a lot of like a big family. The class was very connected. There was about 45 of us, and most of us all got along. We hung out outside of the classroom setting, and there wasn't a lot of cattiness or bad vibes. People were pretty good. If there was, I didn't notice it. I mean, maybe I'm just like a typical guy who was just totally checked out of the drama going on. I mean, if you were in class with me and there was drama happening, put it down in the comments below, but I didn't notice it. Same for on the unit. I stay out of that stuff. If somebody doesn't like somebody or somebody's gossiping about somebody, I try to stay away from that. That's not my place. That's not what's interesting to me. I'm not trying to get myself tied up in any kind of silly stuff like that. If you could go back, would you still choose nursing? Definitely. There's not another career field I would have picked, especially not in healthcare. I definitely wouldn't have chose anything else in healthcare. But outside of this healthcare, I guess if I had to choose another career path, it would be like in some type of administration. Where I would be working more on the macro view of healthcare or the macro view of a business or system, and be working more on policies and implementing things that could potentially change stuff on a larger view rather than a direct clinical aspect of me changing things with my patients' lives every day. So yeah, that would probably be the only other thing that I would do. But ultimately, I'm very happy with what I chose, and I wouldn't have went anywhere else. What did you do to decompress after a long day in the ICU? Probably like ice cream and chocolate cake. How did I deal with a toxic workplace? I did travel nursing for 2 years, so occasionally I would show up in a workplace that had a lot of discord and disharmony and just problematic. In those types of situations, I would just go in, do my job, avoid conversations with people, try and do what I have to do and leave. That's essentially what you have to do. If your workplace is toxic, just don't engage in it. And if it continues to stay that way, maybe find a new place to work. I'd like to hear more about the time in between nursing school and CRNA school. Well, I went straight into the ICU as a new graduate. I worked 2 years in Alabama as an ICU nurse and staff ICU nurse. And then I went travel nursing and did 2 years where I went to Connecticut, Atlanta, Knoxville, Tennessee, Corpus Christi, Texas, the Bay Area, and then I did the Long Beach in Southern California. And then I went to CRNA school again. So that was my Reader's Digest version. How to pass med-surg while working full-time. Med-surg is a difficult class. I mean, that's a lot of information, and med-surg pretty much means you're encompassing a lot of different pathophysiology, a lot of different stuff going on with these types of patients, and it's the first time you're hearing all this stuff as a nursing student. So I remember that class being a struggle. Probably the first class that was truly just difficult clinical information that you were trying to get all this information down for. I would say working full-time and doing well in that class is going to be tricky. It's going to be about time management. I mean, you're going to sacrifice time with friends, family, watching TV, fun stuff you want to do in the weekends. You're just going to sacrifice that. If you're going to work full time and try and do well in that course, that means you're going to have no time for anything extra fun. And lastly, about my time in nursing school, how did I do on the TEAS test? I never took the TEAS test. The TEAS test was only in my region where I live. The TEAS test was what associate degree nursing programs used to assess students who potentially were straight out of high school. So it was kind of an assessment test to see where you're at academically and science-wise and stuff, so that they could then put you on like a metric scale and figure out who gets in and who doesn't. And since some of these associate degree programs accept people right out of high school without any true college experience, they have to have some kind of assessment data that's more so than just their high school courses, which are not legitimate ways to measure people's learning. So the TEAS test where I lived, none of the bachelor's programs used them. It was just for the associate's degree programs. And so yeah, I never took it. I've heard it's no fun. Well, all right, guys, that was my experience in nursing school. I graduated in 2012. I started the program in 2010. So it's been a minute since I have been in nursing school. It's crazy to think that it's been almost a decade since I graduated. But that was my time there. I want to hear about your experience in nursing school. Was it similar to mine, or was it totally different? Make sure, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're looking for CRNA School information, you want to get into CRNA School, you want study guides, mock interviews, all that kind of stuff, the memberships on the channel, guys, go over there on the page, join the memberships. Love to see you over there. And until next time, that's Bolt out.